Reconguista in G is an old-school Gundam for a new-school generation. Little by little, this series is starting to get into my blood, and I'm really starting to get addicted to it. I'm really digging it a lot, especially because this episode was just a mishmash of classic Gundam tropes, and they're actually following up on something that I thought was really confusing at the beginning of the series, which are there are these two different types of people. There are normal people, and there are Kuntalas. What exactly are the Kuntalas? Well, my friends, this week's episode gives us a very dark answer. Apparently, towards the end of Universal Century, mankind was running low on food sources, so the only option they had left was to literally separate certain parts of mankind, label them as Kuntalas, and raise them as cattle for food. Yeah, it's that messed up. Safe to say, currently in the Regild Century, things are probably looking a little better, but the Kuntalas, or at least the people who are related to the old Kuntalas, are basically considered second-class citizens. And that's what brings in Lewin Lee, the Char Aznable clone of this episode. The gist of this week's episode is that Lewin Lee and his team are getting ready to represent the Kuntalas, and they're gonna try and capture the G-Self back. And the pirates are also trying to test out Raraiya when she's piloting this machine, and the only person who can actually get her to do this is Clem Nick. And I'm not sure why this is, but I really like the weird relationship between those two. I don't know what it's going to blossom into later, but it's just very funny that he's the only one who can get her to do this, and apparently that's because he has pretty eyes. But little by little in this episode, you actually start to see Raraiya is starting to get her memories back little by little and starting to almost carry on normal conversations. I'm imagining it's going to be a long time, probably towards the end of the series, when we're finally going to get to see her regain all of her memories, and it's probably going to drop something of a bombshell on this story. But this is all going to result in a massive mobile suit battle, but before we get to that, there's this other subplot this week, which involves what I think is probably one of the most hilarious moms I've ever seen in an anime. And not like drop over, like laugh, grabbing your stomach funny, more like just really surprising, that was random as shit funny. Bellry's mother is absolutely hilarious and incredibly unpredictable. I especially love her standout scenes this week when she arrived at this base, which was being taken over by the Capital Army. You can see they're actually just turning this town into a war zone with the planes and mobile suits flying over it. Safe to say, she is pissed off. However, there's this really random scene where she walks into this office, which has this hippopotamus's head up on a wall, and she just lets out this random, goofy-ass laugh, which does not ever get, like, brought up again. And it's just a really random scene, and you can tell that even though this show has these, like, elements of darkness, what with the whole raising people as cattle and eating them, it still actually manages to have a good sense of humor, especially later when she actually hijacks this shuttle, and she does a great job of making it actually look like that she was in trouble the whole time. But there's a scene when she's making her way down to Earth, and it looks like the shuttle is coming out of control, and she suddenly freaks out because she realizes she forgot the bananas and the cinnamon biscuits that her son loves. And honestly, I thought they were gonna kill her off this week, and that's only because in every single old school Gundam anime, whenever the mother goes out into space or something, she either gets A, captured, or killed by a stray beam rifle. It's ridiculous, and I'm glad they didn't go in that direction. In fact, it actually ended with a huge mobile suit battle between the Pirate Corps and the Capital Army. The final battle of this week's episode is pure classic Gundam, and it's also got a lot of new things which I haven't seen before, and it's really well animated. I especially love the Elf Bullock's brand new weapons, which are these massive beam sabers which have been implanted into their legs, which allows them to basically just kick through enemies and cut them in half at the same exact time. I also really love when they fire their cluster missiles and lasers, how they put their arms and their legs up completely to the side, and it literally looks like they're jumping up and doing a split kick in mid-air. The G-Self also gets a few cool scenes this week. Unfortunately, Raraiya doesn't really get to do too much with it, but when Bellry takes over and decides to fight against Lewin Lee, he gets to use his weird, like, barrier techniques, and he has his particle beam sabers, and it just looks really flashy and awesome. And luckily, at the end of the episode, Bellry and his companions are actually saved by this brand new Amerian mobile armor, which is known as the Armor Zagon, and it looks awesome. It basically just looks like a massive metal bat out of hell, and it causes all of the Capital Army to run away with their tails between their legs. I just really liked the art in this week's episode. I'm really starting to dig the old school style of this show. Otherwise, this was probably one of the more exciting episodes of the series, and one that's definitely worth your time if you're an old school Gundam fan. So, what's the rundown? On this week's episode of Gundam Reconguista NG, I really liked this one a lot, mostly because I'm really starting to enjoy the art style, and that little bombshell they dropped at the beginning of the episode when they explained what the Kuntalas was is very dark and very disturbing, and it's just amazing how this show actually manages to balance both like the action and the humor, especially with Bellry's mom this week. That was just really, really funny and one of the most memorable things about this series thus far. Otherwise, there's a few side characters I wish they would still expand upon, especially the character of Ida Ray Hunton, but that's probably just because I have a crush on her character. Baby got back, that's all I'm gonna say. She did get to pilot the Arcane mobile suit, which looks really awesome, but for the most part, it was pretty much just the Montero and the G-Self doing all of the work. The thing that's really important about this episode, though, is all of the stuff with Raraiya. I know she's a character that not a lot of people care for because she can get kind of annoying with her constantly repeating a lot of weird and stupid things, especially about her stupid fish choo-choo-me, but little by little, I can't wait to see how her story is going to unfold and the mystery behind it, because she clearly has some sort of connection to, like, the creation of the G-Self. And like I said, she reminds me of Lala from the original Mobile Suit Gundam, and I'm sure maybe there's some sort of connection there. This is connected in the same universe. Who knows? Maybe they could connect this to the original Mobile Suit Gundam in some way. I think that would be pretty interesting, if only because I'm an old school fan of the series, but at the same time, I really want it to pave its way for new stuff, and I think it's doing a pretty good job of that, but this is definitely a Tomino Gundam, so if you consider yourself an old school Gundam fan, check this one out. I think this was one of the more exciting episodes of the series. It was not a perfect episode. There were moments where the animation was a little lazy, and they could have probably put a little more attention to detail, especially in the artwork. But overall, this was a really exciting episode, so I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Check it out, old school Gundam fans. Pretty nice episode. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And before you guys leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Gundam Reconguista NG. Did you have a favorite battle scene? What do you want to see from the rest of this brand new Gundam anime? Before you guys leave, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. You can do that by clicking on the channel icon right up here. If you guys are also feeling dangerous, you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter too. And if you're a Naruto fan, just to let you know, and you probably already know, the Naruto manga series came to an end today, so if you want to see my reaction to it and Christian's reaction to it and all of our reviews, make sure and check out the clips at the very end of this review so you can check those out. So guys, thank you again for watching. Super Kami Guru 9000, out.